Hey y'all, welcome back. We wanted to pick this back up and go back into our Ubuntu series, and this time we're going to be talking about a neat little application that you can install and run multiple machines on one machine. This application is called Virtualbox, as you can see right here. This application right there. This is a open source application. Allows you to virtualize and run multiple machines, depending on your resources. Run multiple machines on one machine. This is called virtualization. So I'm going to show you where you can go find that, and we'll get it installed and just kind of walk through creating a machine or two. So if you have not already installed, where you can find it at is under the software tools, software or Ubuntu software, and Virtualbox. And this is what you want. So if you go ahead and install that, as you can see, remove mine says launch because I already have mine installed. So you can find it there. Or if you're feeling a little frisky, you can actually download it. You can download it from the website. Okay, so we're there. We're going to go to the site. We'll go downloads, and depending on whatever operating system that you're running platform-wise, Windows, Mac OS X, or Linux, or Solaris, you can choose your installation and download and install it from there. So we're going to go Linux distribution because that's what we're running. I'm running Ubuntu 16.04, so I would do the Xenio AMD 64. So I would download that, and that would get me up, and that would get me downloaded with the software. Okay. So I'm gonna pretend like we've downloaded, went through the process. I got it, I installed it, and I'm ready to load up a couple of machines here. So you can do one of two things. You can find really accessible machines that are kind of turnkey style, ready to go out of the box. You just kind of load these into your virtual application and launch them. This is a neat application or a website to find various plethora of different turnkey style appliances that you can load into your virtual machine and run. And ironically, it is called Turnkey Linux. As you see here, there's all kind of different virtual appliances that you can run and install. And I've been utilizing these appliances for several years now. They work great. They come up with different appliances that they come and bring in, and some new ones come and old ones go out, but this is a great resource to find appliances that you can use for virtualizing or even testing, or you just kind of want to get your hands dirty. So I've actually already downloaded an appliance and the ISO image that I'd like to try, which you probably already saw earlier here. So I am going to leave the let's do both of them. Let me remove so we can start this from scratch here. Oops. Remove. Okay, so we want to add an appliance. We've downloaded. We went to Turnkey. and file server, and I've already pre-downloaded the 93 megabyte virtual machine build and the 250 megabyte ISO build. Both of these, I want to walk through both of these and show you how to import and either set up a virtual machine using the VM or the ISO from scratch. So let's get started. Like I said, I've pre-downloaded these, so I'm not going to go through and actually spend time downloading these again. So if you haven't already, go ahead and download the two ISOs. It'll take a few minutes, get you a little something to drink or run to the bathroom and do your thing, and come on back and it should be done. So I pre-downloaded mine. I'm going to go ahead and navigate, and I'll show you where mine are at. It's in my downloads folder. So I've got, let's see, I've got my file server here, ISO, right here, and I've got my file server virtual machine appliance. Okay, so let's load the appliance up with VirtualBox Manager open. If you find where you can go to File and you want to import appliance. Okay, and we'll choose folder location. We'll navigate to our appliance where it's downloaded. There it is, file server, and it shows our path where it's coming from. We'll say next. You can change, or these just up the settings, so you can actually go in here. You can adjust these on the fly if you need, uncheck whatever you want to do from there. If you want to reinitialize the MAC address, this will just reinitialize and give the MAC address a new MAC number. Okay, so I don't want to change. I'm going to leave everything as the default, and let's click import. Okay, shouldn't take too long. It's going to create our appliance here from the exported turnkey appliance. Okay, so now there it is. You've got your turnkey appliance easily installed, and pretty much what you can do is just start it and run it from there. Before we do any of the running of the appliances, though, I'm going to go through and we'll do a build out from the ISO image. So what you want to do is from when you want to create a VirtualBox image from scratch, you want to say new. We're going to give this a name. We're going to call it file server, and we're going to change our platform to Linux. Version will be Debian 64. We'll leave the memory defaulted as is, and what we want to select is create a virtual hard disk now. So what this will do is this is going to give us an option to create our hard drive. This is the virtual hard drive we're going to use for our machine. So you got a few options here you can select. You got your file location. You want to point that to wherever you're going to have your virtual machine hard disk and virtual machine residing. So if you got stuff running on some type of share or external device or wherever location you may choose, just make sure that's pointed. You can click here on the folder and just navigate to wherever you're trying to get that to. Let's say save. Okay, so, and I'm going to leave the file size default. As you can see, you can go down as far as 4 megabytes, all the way up to 2 terabytes of data. The biggest I've built, or biggest drive I've created on here is 100 gigs. No problem. Got things running, so you adjust that to to your liking, whatever size drive you want to create. Now you got a couple of different disk file types here, depending on what you're creating this for. So we got VirtualBox disk image, which is the standard. You got virtual machine disk, a VMDK. That's for your VMware. You're running like VMware. This is what VMware creates. You have a VHD, a virtual hard disk. That's what window in the Windows world, that's what they name their hard drive type, is a VHD file. And you have Parallels hard disk, HDD, which that is more of a Mac OS X. I always get tongue tied saying that. Man, Mac OS X. It's their Parallels is their virtualization platform, and they use a hard disk file type of HDD. The bottom two are more Linux native. You're going to find that format in more of a Linux based virtualization technology. So they use a QED or a QCOW type of file hard disk format. So those are basically your six hard disk file types, and that you can choose from. And from there, we'll move on to storage on physical hard disk. You got two options. You got dynamic or fixed. Fixed will basically allocate whatever space you designate, file size here. It will take that from the host. So it will take that 8 gigs. The 8 gigs will no longer be available to the host machine. With dynamic, it's the opposite. It doesn't take out that whole 8 gigs. It dynamically uses that size. So you can say, I want 8 gigs, I want it to be dynamic. But what it will do is it will, as the drive grows, as you add more data to your virtual disk, it will dynamically begin to use and consume the host disk space. So that's basically the difference between the two. I typically go with a fixed disk, fixed size here, and let's go with create. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a few minutes. We'll let it chime here along, let it do its thing. Typically after about a minute, just because it's an 8 gig size, this shouldn't take long. I've created I don't know, 30, 40, 50. Like I said, I've done a 100 gig drive, and it takes maybe 10, 15 minutes to allocate that much space, because it's taking it from the host. So yeah, here we go. Looking good. Alright, so once this is done, we will have a virtual machine created from the exported appliance image, and we will have a virtual machine created from the ISO build. The ISO build, as I stated, it gives you a fresh from scratch type of install. So you can actually go in and you can you create the password, you create the you designate the drive space and all that stuff. So you have a little bit more control over that. Okay, so now we've got both our two machines created. Well, what you want to do first, before you launch anything, go in here and check your settings. Take a look at the settings, make sure they're all set the way you want. You have system. Here you can adjust the motherboard. You can give it a base memory type. However much memory is on the host, that's how much you have available to allocate to your guest machine. And then you can go down here. There's extended features. You can change the boot order of your virtual machine. So if you have a CD drive mounted, or you booting off the network, you can have those options available. Processor allows you to you can allocate a number of CPUs depending on how many CPUs or cores that your processor has. You can allocate that to your guest machine. So you can allocate 1, 2, 3, 4 CPUs depending on how much if the resources are available. And okay, so we move on to acceleration. This is these basically interact. These are accelerations that physically allow the guest machine some interaction with the host. So it's not virtualizing anything. It's or some of the hardware. It more allows physical interaction going between the guest and the host resources. Okay. So let's go to display. Obviously, these are just our basic display settings for our guest machine. You can go here and adjust the video memory if you need more for you. This is essentially like your video card. So you can adjust this if you need more video memory. You can enable 2D and 3D acceleration, video acceleration. So if you need that, you can enable the server for remote display. This allow you to do like an RDP or something. Use some type of remote software to remotely connect to your VM and not have to actually log in and access the Virtualbox manager. Then you have video capture. This is pretty slick. You can actually start your machine and if I was given a kind of a tutorial session, walking through setting up a virtual machine, you can actually capture the video of just that machine, and it'll create a video, and that you can kind of go back and play later and kind of evaluate if you want, if you will. But this is a pretty cool feature. They didn't have this earlier on in some of the earlier versions of Virtualbox. Okay, so let's move on. We got storage. So storage, like you see here, so we've got SATA and an IDE controller, and obviously you can go down here, you can add more controllers if you need, you can adjust the controller type, you can go down here. This is where you can actually add more hard drives, you can add CD-ROMs. If you want additional space, you can come here, create another disk, add it to your system. Audio. If you want audio enabled, this will give you audio playback through your virtual machine. Not too much to go on that. It's pretty straightforward. You want your host control driver and select those options. We go down here. We've got network, our network settings. So Virtualbox gives you the option of having 3 network adapters that you can attach. All of them are how you attach them can be various ways. You can have not attached. You can uncheck this to not even enable the adapter. But when you go in here, you can say NAT, bridge, internal network, host only adapter. All of them provide networking functions in their own way. NAT actually creates some address translation between the host IP and your guest machine. So your guest will be on a have a NAT address. NAT network actually sets up a network, an internal NAT network, so each of your VMs are all on the same network. So you can kind of create that internal network, and then host only adapter. Host only adapter. That is, it basically it allows you to kind of go in. It gives its own. It creates the machine its own adapter, and then allows you to create a subnet that address. So you can create an IP subnet and give you whatever network you want. So it allows you to do that, to create your own kind of private internal network. And it only, and then you have internal network. Now internal network is essentially what it says. Internal network. It only the machines that are set to internal will see each other. Anything else outside of that will be not exposed and will not see the virtual machines at all. Okay, so that's pretty much. And there's some advanced settings down here. I don't touch these too often, but you can go in here. You can change the type of adapter. They got server type. There's some desktop adapters. You can go in here and you can change the MAC address. You can enable port forwarding on an adapter. That helps. You can create forwarding rules and routing, which is that's good. Serial ports. I don't mess with this too often. I don't have a need to set up any serial port or COM ports via a virtual machine. So, but the options are here. So you can enable a serial port. select what COM ports you want, and it's the same settings, just like you would on or the same kind of setup or COM settings that you would do for your a host machine. Okay. Moving on down to USB. So USB allows you to kind of pipe through. It'll filter from the host machine. It'll filter a USB device that it picks up now. A USB device based on speed, and if it picks it up, it'll filter it from the host into the guest machine, making that USB device available directly to the guest. Awesome feature. I like that. Sometimes I you want to know, how do I get you got stuff, how do I get data to my, how do I get information to my virtual machine? Well, this is one way. Shared folders. Speaking of getting data and accessing data, this is a way you can allow your machine, especially if it's on the same network, you can allow your machine to access remote folders. You can go in here and add a folder. What I like to do is, which is cool, you can actually share information easy back and forth between host and guest, is to create a folder, a shared folder from your virtual machine, and connect it to a folder on your host. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Just as soon as this comes up here, you go in here, and once the comes up, typically I always use my guest. I don't want to expose anything on my main home folders, so I typically use the public, because it's that's one that's available for you to share out. It's public, so I use that to transfer and share data between a running virtual machine and my guest. And my host machine. Sorry. So I could dump data or files or stuff that I want. I could just quickly, boom, put it in there, go to my VM, go to the shared folder I have, and it's there. So we'll do this. We'll auto mount, so it mounts every time we log in. We have a shared folder, and you see it's public, and it's here, home, JC, and public. Auto mount is on, and this here is just the user interface. It kind of allows you to do a little tweaking on how you want the interface to appear, what you want to see, and things like that. So this has been a quick, I hope it's been quick. Not sure how long I've been rolling through this here, but it's been I wanted to kind of touch on and start, this will be the first series, because I'm going to go through and talk about, I want to talk and touch on a few other virtualization technologies that are available to you if you're running Ubuntu or any Linux-based operating system. So you'll be a little bit familiar, and you'll kind of know how you can walk through and set up, and know that, hey, you want to test something out, where you can create a virtual machine, do all your testing on, create snapshots to allow you to roll that machine back if you make mistakes and things of that nature. So this has been I've had a good time. This has been really interesting, because I'm a Virtualbox fan. I love Virtualbox. I use it on some of my working production machines. I like it. It's free. It's an open source tool. You can download it. It runs on multi-platforms. You're looking at Windows, Mac OS X, Linux, and Solaris. So if you get a chance, go check it out. Play with it. Mess around with it. And you'll find some big uses out of it. And so I think I'll cut it off there and let you guys get back and give you some of your time back in your day. I hope this has been an informative video for you. I appreciate you guys for joining in with me today, and I'll see you on the next video.